Welcome back to The Healthy Rider, where creativity meets wellness.
Today we'll be doing a session of EFT for grief. You may notice that the background behind me is a little bit different from my wall of flowers and birds. That's because I'm actually in the midst of traveling. I'm currently at an Airbnb and I'll be here for the next couple weeks and then somewhere else. So some years ago, I was in a yoga class and the instructor expressed that autumn, according to Chinese medicine, is the season of grief. And she also talked about how the lungs in Chinese medicine is where grief is held. Since we're in autumn and since, worldwide, we've been dealing with this pandemic that impacts the lungs. I thought it would be beneficial to do a video for grief. Emotional freedom tapping works with different points to get at the emotions, and you can close your eyes or keep them open, depending upon whether or not you need to follow which motions I'm making where. And yeah, this is going to be kind of a generalized grief video. It can be applicable to any kind of grief. Some of the things I say won't be applicable to you, but in that case, you can change whatever I say in your head to make it applicable to you. And yeah, so let's go. All right, so we'll start with karate chopping the palm. So we go like so, and it's going to be below, so you might not be able to see, but my hands are down here. That's the one I'm going to be doing. And as a reminder, it helps to take deep breaths as we're doing the EFT sessions. As with any sort of health modality, whether it's yoga or trauma release exercises, EFT, meditation, breath work is an important facet. So do your best to remember to breathe through your belly. Even though I feel this grief in my body, I deeply love and accept myself. Even though it may feel frustrating to deal with this grief, whether it's old or new, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. I know, go between the eyebrows, tapping. I know that grief is a part of being human, that the more I feel, the more human I am, and no one gets out of life without grieving. Even though I would rather, be a little more joyful or experience life without this grief. I know that by experiencing, recognizing, allowing, and processing my grief, I'm actually making more room for the emotions I want to feel. And I'm also allowing room to be more grateful for emotions that vary from grief, because I know how hard, I'm going to go into the nose, because I know how hard it can be to feel grief. I am even more grateful in the moments I allow myself joy and laughter and appreciation for the humans around me. As I mentioned in the last EFT video, I like to give more attention to the neck than most people who do this do. It's because I have a lot of tension in my neck. So if you too have a lot of tension in your neck, I highly recommend just gently tapping down the neck. Even though this grief is painful in my body, I deeply love and accept myself and my body. I also want to acknowledge the grief of the dreams that didn't become reality. I think, here I go into the arms. I think often, I do kind of back and forth. I think often when we think about grief, it's for what we had and then lost. Sometimes grief is for what we didn't have. And I want to pull attention to that kind of grief because that too is an important one to recognize. So even though maybe I didn't get all the jobs I wanted, or the homes, or relationships, or friends, or opportunities that I would have liked when I was younger, or that I would still like, I know that I'm allowed to grieve those things. And I know I'm allowed to recognize that those things can still happen. That just because something didn't happen doesn't mean it won't happen now or later. I want to also draw attention to the people I loved. The people I loved who are no longer in my life. I want to recognize that even though it hurts to grieve for these people, whether they're dead or alive, I can grieve and still deeply appreciate and love myself. Maybe I made mistakes in some of these relationships that quickened their end. Maybe there was nothing else I could have done because illness or some other sickness took them away, or other circumstances. I know that grief can carry a lot of different emotions. Sometimes grief is bound in anger. And for that, I also allow myself to love and deeply appreciate myself. I'm allowed to have complicated grief. I'm allowed to feel angry and sad. And I'm allowed to long for the things that are gone as well. I'm allowed to find new ways in my life to incorporate some of the things that I appreciated of the people or the opportunities I formerly had, or in some cases didn't have. In a lot of ways, I recognize that grief actually teaches me how to live better, to not take any moment for granted, to know that every moment I take care of myself is a moment that I help pave a healthier future for myself and the people who are still in my life. Grief can be an important teacher, and I recognize that there is a lot of love that comes out of pain sometimes. And even though this pain is so heavy and hard to deal with, I know I'm allowed to loosen the burden, that I am allowed to forgive myself. And that I'm allowed to be happy, even though I can't make memories with people who are gone. I can make memories while I'm still here. And I know that the people who also loved me wouldn't want me to hold on to this grief in this way. They would want me to also let go. Just as they did when they had to lose people they loved. Just as they did when they had to lose opportunities and things they would have liked to have done. It's okay. Everything is going to be okay. I can appreciate what's here in my life currently. I can allow myself to let go of this grief. And I can return to it if I need to. If it comes up, if I see a person who looks like someone I once loved or someone I love and is no longer here, I can take a deep breath and feel that grief and know I'll be okay through the feeling of it. Because grieving or processing grief doesn't mean denying it. It actually means looking it in the full face and holding it enough to let it go, to let it go, to let it go, to let it go, and know that this is something you're allowed to do. Did this EFT for grief help you? Did certain things come up for you? And are there other EFT videos you would like for other emotions? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, please like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. Take care, y'all.